Hey guys, how's it going? This is a GameCube I purchased off eBay for relatively cheap, and today I'm going to make a video on my experience installing the Xeno GC mod chip. Things you'll need for this project are obviously a GameCube, the Xeno GC chip itself, which you can get cheap off eBay. You can also get the GameCube pretty cheap off eBay if you don't already have one. You will also need a soldering iron, solder, flux, a multimeter, isopropyl alcohol, and a solder sucker if you mess up. Additionally, you don't need this to do the mod, but you kind of need it to take advantage of the mod, and that is a SD card and a SD card to GameCube memory card adapter so you can plug it in. And I thought it'd be kind of interesting if I swapped out the LED with a RGB LED instead. Also, be careful when buying these. I thought I was only buying one, and now I have this entire bag full of them. Okay, so first things first is we open it up, and that is these 4 screws right here, and you will need this odd gaming bit to do so. Alright, now we flip it over. Last screw comes out. And then we lift off the top pain-free. Alright, now the bit we gotta get to is underneath the drive. So we then would need to move the controller ports out of the way by doing these 2 clips right here and just kind of fold it out of the way for now. And then we have to disconnect the power over here. Then once you get that out, you can go back to normal screw bit to get out these 2 screws right here holding in the fan and the power button. Alright, then this portion can just lift right on out. Like that. So easy. And this back door we could just kind of put to the side. I really hope I remember how to put this back together. Plenty of videos on YouTube to help if I forget. Now next up there's a boatload of screws going around here. I think there's 12. So then you have to start getting to those. I can tell I'm cracking these screws for the first time. Alright, got pretty hot in here. Next up, I'm actually remembering we do need to get this out of here. And I believe it is these screws here that will then free us the rest of the way. Gonna need a smaller screwdriver bit. Okay, then I guess these little shield things come off as well. More to remember to put back, and then this comes up. Yes. Yes. Wow. Okay. Set this bottom bit aside. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cover up the laser. I've heard enough people say that matters, so we're gonna do it by doing that real quick. Then we can flip it over, and then we got our last set of screws, these bottom tray screws. And they are tiny. Okay, then once you have all the screws removed, this silver bit pops off and we have our working station. Set this off to the side. Let's see what we're dealing with. Alright, next up what we're going to do is we're going to clean the surface of the board with our isopropyl. One of our Q-tips. Rub it all around. Next up we'll apply our flux. Pretty generous with it because this should really help out the process, because you don't get to see the contact points you're doing. You just gotta lay the chip over it and hope. Alright, that's our first layer. Now we can grab the chip and center it up. It seems pretty easy to actually get a connection you didn't intend for, so that's going to be difficult. I could see why some people will actually tin up the board first, that way you don't have to reach as deep. I wonder if I should do that. But that's looking pretty good and lined up to me. Alright, my solder iron is still heating up. We have to now tape this guy in place, and then the hard part begins. Okay, that's still looking good and lined up. Okay, this bit is going to be tough with the camera because I'm really going to be focusing on trying to hit these points. I'll try to get good pictures as I go. But now we add more flux. Alright, now I'm going to go in for the first solder. I'm going to try this top right hand side first, my right hand. That's actually not looking half bad. At least that one right there. Okay, now we'll do the far left one. I'm going to save these holes for you for last. That's looking good too. Alright, now I gotta get this itty bitty one right in there. Oh, I might have got a couple extra pins in there. Alright, so now I gotta try out the solder sucker. Alright, 2 more spots. All right, well, 6 of the 8 I think came out pretty good, and then 2 of them I'm kind of crossing my fingers on. Okay, then next up we want to clean our working area and get all that flux out of there. Okay, next up guys is we need to now adjust this pot right here. Right now I am reading 403. Once it figures it out, 404. 404 is what I'm reading. That's actually the highest I have seen it in any of these, of all the guys I've watched, 403 was the highest. I actually like triple checked to make sure I was hitting the right points, and that is what it is. So no way is any Japanese disc or homebrew disc is gonna run. So we need to adjust that down. I'm gonna go with 200 ohms, but you can go as low as 150 before you start getting into some scary territory with doing damage with the laser. And then that may not work for you either. You might have to play around with this. But from what I've seen, it seems kind of straightforward in that just adjust it to 200-ish, maybe a little below, 180, and it will work. All right, now we are reading just below 200, which is where I'm happy with it. So we're gonna test it like this and see if that's enough. All right guys, it's actually a couple days later since that last clip. And that is due to, I was so unsure whether this was good, because my soldering isn't pretty, that I tested it kind of right away and it didn't work. So I freaked out, stopped filming, and troubleshot it for a couple days. Turns out it was because of a disc I bought from Japan that was no good. Don't know why, it didn't work for me. I checked the contents of the disc, it looks similar to what I burned myself. But it works with the disc I burnt myself. So I can properly show you guys that this is good and working. So the next steps is I'm going to put electric tape over this and call that done. Alright, that's good and we'll protect it. I was messing around with the potentiometer. As you read a lot online, you have to do that. In order to read your own burned discs, you have to bump up the laser power. I tried that in my troubleshooting, that didn't work because I was doing it on a disc that didn't end up working. But when I ended it, I put it back where I started, which was 400 ohms, just so I was back to where the factory had it set. And I was very much prepared this week and more. But to my surprise, when I popped in my burnt disc, it read it immediately. So I didn't mess with that, and I read online that there are cases where you don't have to, so cool, didn't have to. So now I'm going to reassemble it, and I will show you it working. And you know, I still want to give a shot at replacing this LED here, despite the headache this project has given me. At this point, I want to see it through, and I bought so many. I still want to give one a shot. So to do that, we're going to disconnect this ribbon cable right here, very carefully, and we can set the rest of the cube to the side. And then this is held on by 2 screws right there. Okay, then this just separates like that and we're left with the board. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to heat up the existing solder, melt that out, and we're going to slide out the LED, And then slide in one of our new ones. It is noticeably bigger. I really hope this is a good idea. Okay, now the nerve-wracking part. I'm going to put a little bit of flux there because I feel that's necessary. If I had to do it again, I would get a different type of flux, one that's way more liquidy. Okay, now we need tweezers of some kind to be able to remove the LED, because without one of those stands that holds the board in place for you, I think it's going to be tricky. But I'm going to heat those up and I'm just going to pull out. Got it. Alright, that wasn't too bad. I did think that having a holder was going to really be a necessary thing, but I actually kept there we go, the solder from actually joining, so that should make install easier. But I still have to get a new LED in there, melt it, and get. Ooh, alright, that bit's going to be tricky. We'll set that one aside. Here is our new one. If you're looking at the board head on, then your long lead is going to go through the left side and the short one is going to go into the right. But we can't get it in there while there is solder in the way. So I'm going to try to heat it real quick and then hopefully get it in there in time. Alright, that was, again, really easy. Alright, now I'm going to leave enough slack in this because it needs to be bent upwards after, so it's straight up. So when I'm happy with the length of it, I'm going to bend the feet of it to keep it in place, like that. And then this won't actually need too much solder to go back on. Alright, I got a tiny bit of solder left. I'm going to tin up and then dab it on. That might actually be the best solder job I've ever done ever. Alright, now we're just going to take some cutters here to get rid of this excess. Alright, and then we are going to carefully bend it upwards. That is perfect. Alright, and that's it. Now I'm just going to put everything back together, show you guys what it looks like that it's working, and this project's over. Okay, here we go. The cube is back together. I'm now going to demonstrate you that this mod did in fact work. I haven't tested it since my first test, so I haven't seen the RGB yet. So hopefully that works. And to test it, I have this burnt copy of Paper Mario. So a normal GameCube would not be able to read this without this chip mod. And here we go. Wow, that light actually looks crisper than what I thought it was going to be. I bought a generic RGB LED of the same form factor, so I knew it would fit. And apparently that's what it gets you. It gets you strobes. And look at that, it works. We're booting right on into it. I am extremely pleased with this. I have mixed feelings about the results overall due to my bad disc I was given. The soldering was not as easy as I thought it was going to be. The LED was actually a lot easier. In fact, if you want to test the waters with soldering, give that a shot. But that tiny chip is not forgiving. And I did join a couple points that were really frustrating to undo. This solder sucker is not very good. I would highly recommend using the solder wick, that rope looking thing that you can melt it to. I think that would be a better alternative. But the mod works. The reason you might want to do this to your GameCube is so you can play Japanese games or you can play your backups, like this disc right here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was a novice perspective of this mod. To put in more perspective, if you have very little soldering experience, how you might fare. You could do better than me on your first try. You could do way worse than me on your first try, but it works, and I am super stoked. And that LED is also a pretty good idea. I don't know what to do with the rest of these though. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope to do more videos like this in the future as I get inspired to do a mod or I want to play a game that's over a decade old. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.